Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, how are you today? I hope you are all in good health. First of all, my name is Zika Nurina grade 1 Islamic Religious Education A. This time, I will explain the material about the basic concept of Islamic moderation. Okay, the first material is definition of moderation. The word moderation in Arabic means al-wasatiyah. In language, al-wasatiyah comes from the word wasat. Al-Asfahani defines wasat with sawa'un, which is the middle between two limits, or with justice, the middle with, or the standard or mediocre. Moderation Islam is a religious teaching that is in accordance with the stage of religion in all aspects, be it race, ethnicity, customs, or the nation itself. In addition, Islamic moderation with an understanding that prioritizes the unity of the people and avoids violence. On this basis, Islamic moderation can have a positive impact on the balance between liberalism and fundamentalism, so that the state of Indonesia will be conducive and able to build civilization without conflicts that can destroy Muslims. The word moderation, whose Latin form is moderation, means moderation also means self-control. In English, it is called moderation, which is often used in the sense of average, core, standard of impartiality. In general, moderate means prioritizing a balance between beliefs, morals, and behavior or character. Therefore, it can be concluded the wasatiyah is a commendable condition that protects a person from the tendency of two extreme attitudes, excessive attitude and muqassar, which reduce something that is limited by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Prioritize deliberation in taking the middle way in deciding a problem and emphasize tolerance for difference. The wasatiyah nature of Muslim is a gift given by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When they consistently carry out the teaching of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then that's when they become the best and good people. This trait has made Muslims as moderate people, moderate in all things, both religious and social affairs in the world. The next matter is about normative foundation. The benchmark or basis for religious moderation is the Quran. The Quran has explained in a basic, accurate, and relevant manner the nature of the direction of wasatiyah taught in the lives of Muslims in many verses in the Quran. From this Quranic were born the views and concepts as well as the mode of moderation of Islam in every aspect of people's life. In the Quran, there are several verses that form the basis of religious moderation, or ummatan wasatan. Namely, 1. Wasatiyah means fairness and courage. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. وَكَذَلِكَ جَعَلْنَاكُمْ أُمَّةً وَسَطًا لَتَكُونُوا شُهَدَاءَ عَلَى النَّاسِ وَيَكُونَ الرَّسُولُ عَلَيْكُمْ شَهِيدًا. Meaning, and thus also we have made you Muslims a just and good people, so that you may be witness of mankind, and so that the messengers of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam will be a witness of you. The meaning of wasatan ummatan in Surah Al-Baqarah verse 143 is a just and elected people. That is, the Muslims are the people who are the most perfect in religion, the best in morals, and the most important in deeds. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has bestowed knowledge, gentleness of character, styles, and goodness that is not given to others. Therefore, they become the wasatan people, the perfect and just people who will be witness for all mankind on the day of judgment. 2. Wasatiyah means the best and the middle. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Hafizu 'ala as-salati was-salatil wusta wa qumu lillahi qanitin. Keep all your prayers and maintain wusta prayers. Stand for Allah in your prayers with humility. Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 238. Al-Qurtubi said, Al-Wusta is a form of feminism from the word wasat, which means the best and fairest. Another word of the word wusta in this verse is the middle one, the most beautiful and the best. The commentators such as At-Tabari say that the meaning is the as prayer, because it is locked in the middle of other prayers between dawn and noon and Maghrib and Isha. Al-Qurtubi said, Al-Wusta is a form of feminism from the word wasat, which means the best and most fair. According to Ibn al-Jawzi, the meaning of this verse has three meanings. First, relates to prayers, which is located in the middle. Second, the most middle in size. And third, because it is the most afdal in its position. So there is no other meaning of the word wusta in this verse other than most middle, fairest, and best. 3. Wasatiyah means the fairest, the most eager, and the most knowledgeable. Qul awsafuhum alam aqul lakum laula tusabbihun. One of the pious among them said, Didn't I tell you, you should glorify to your Lord? Surah Al-Qalam, verse 28. Ibn Abbas radhiyallahu anhu and At-Tabari said that what is meant by the word awsatuhum is the most just of them. Al-Qurtubi interprets verse Surah Al-Baqarah as the most middle person, the fairest, the most intelligent, and the most knowledgeable. In this verse, it can also be concluded that the meaning of the word awsatuhum is the most just, the best or ideal, and the most knowledgeable. 4. Wasatiyah means in the middle or in the middle. Fawasatna bihi jam'a, then stormed into the midst of the enemy group. Quran Surah Al-Adiyat, verse 5. At-Tabari, Al-Qurtubi, and Al-Qasimi said, the meaning is to be in the midst of the enemy. Thus, the essence of wasatiyah in the Quran is in accordance with a truth and authoritative interpretation based on authentic narration from the 4 different verses of the Quran regarding the word wasatiyah above. It can be concluded with certainty that wasatiyah in the sentence and terms of the Quran is the most fair, the best, the most intermediate, and the most knowledgeable. So that Muslims are the more just, the best, the most superior, the highest, and the most moderate of the other people. The next foundation is wasatiyah, or moderation in as-sunnah. In as-sunnah, wasatiyah turned out to have been spoken and recited by the Prophet Muhammad SAW in several of his hadiths, which can be interpreted linguistically. The Prophet sometimes called wasat, meaning justice, elevation, blessing, best, and balance, as in the following hadiths. 1. Wasatan, or moderate, means justice. The Prophet ﷺ and interprets the word wasatan as justice. What is meant by justice here is that Muslims are people who put things in their place, respond to things according to their importance and circumstance. 2. Wasatiyah means the middle position full of blessing. عن ابن عباس قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم إذا وضع الطعام فخذوا من حافته وذروا وسطه فإن البركة تنزل فيه وسطه. When the food has been served, then take it from the side and leave the middle. Verily, the blessing comes down in the middle. In this hadith, the word wasat means the middle position, a position that it always bless Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This shows that Muslims are the best people because they are always in a middle position between extreme tendencies in the world and extreme tendencies in the hereafter, so as to forget the world. Islam is in the middle position in terms of like extremes, which is good or excessive, on spiritual values, and left extremes, which does not care about spirituality. Islam positions itself in the middle of the two extremes with full justice and balance. Wasatiyah means the best position, like the best treasure is middle. Treasure this is explained in Hadith Riwayat Abu Daud Hadith. This hadith explains the teachings of Islamic moderation in issuing zakat, that the assets issued by a Muslim from his zakat obligations are intermediate between the most luxurious or expensive assets and the safest and lowest assets. Next is wasatiyah according to scholars and jurists. 1. Imam Ibn Jarir At-Tabari argues that wasatiyah Muslim are moderate people because they are in a middle position in all religions. They are not extreme and excessive group like the extreme attitude of Christians with their monkeys teachings that reject the world and their nature as human beings. 2. Imam Abu Hamid al-Ghazali saw that the ideal life in actualizing the teachings of Islam is a middle way, balanced and just or proportional between its world and the hereafter, between spiritual and physical, and between material and spiritual. 3. Imam Al-Qurtubi Imam Muhammad bin Ahmad Al-Ansari Al-Qurtubi that the Wasatan people are the just and the best people because the best thing is the most just. Al-Qurtubi explained that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants Muslims to be moderate, fairest, and most intelligent people. That Muslims must be people who are always in a middle and moderate position, not in an extreme or excessive position. The next material is about historical basis of Islamic moderation. Understanding the historical basis of Islamic moderation, the foundation means the pedestal, the base are the base. Therefore, the foundation is the resting place or the starting point or the base of the footing. Meanwhile, in a more comprehensive sense of a historical event, it is also necessary to look at who carried out the event, where, when, and why the event occurred. The historical basis of Islamic moderation is an event that really happened, which was used as the basis for the application of Islamic moderation. A. Events of moderation implementation on the Nabawiyah Sirah. 1. Dialogue of the Prophet with friends. In the story, the Prophet sought a wasatiyah attitude that is not excessive in religion. The Prophet was diligent in fasting and breaking his fast, in contrast to his companions who did not break his fast. This was actually an excessive attitude and religion, which of course was not in accordance with the principles of Islamic moderation. So what the Prophet did was in line with Allah's commandment when condemning extreme attitude, namely, among other things, it was forbidden to be ghulu or exaggeration. Quran Surah An-Nisa verse 171. This proves that Islam is very wasatiyah, does not want to burden its people. Islam provides many facilities so that its people can carry out as well as possible. Don't overdo it in worship and did understand. 2. The story of the Prophet and the Badui. At the time of the Prophet, there was an Arabi who came to the mosque and urinated in front of his friends. At the time, the companions were angry, but the Prophet prevented him from letting the person defecate until it was finished. After that, Arabi was summoned and given advice that this place is the house of Allah, a holy place, so that it is not permissible to excrete uncleanness. Meanwhile, the friends who saw were asked to clean the unclean place with water until they were whole again. The Badui are not residents of Medina. If the people of Medina did that, of course, the Prophet ﷺ would have reacted differently. However, then Prophet ﷺ addresses this person according to his ignorance and lack of understanding of religion. The attitude shown by the Prophet is an attitude of tolerance in religion, which is part of the application of moderation. B. Event of the implementation of Islamic moderation in the era Khulafaur Rashidin. 1. The story of Umar and Christians. Umar was involved in the Aliyah agreements with the Christians in Jerusalem. A unique story happened after the treaty was agreed. When it was time for prayer, Umar asked Patriarch Soporinus where he could pray. Patriarch Soporinus invited Umar to pray in church, but Umar refused. He then came out of the church and prayed on the steps. Umar explains his reason for not wanting to pray in the church. Qiyamah Church is a holy place for Orthodox Christians in Jerusalem. If Umar prayed in the church, then the Muslim troops could interpret that on day the Qiyamah Church could be conquered and turned into a mosque. As a tribute where Umar bin Khattab prayed in front of the church, a mosque was built, but Umar forbade the call to prayer to be heard in the mosque for fear of disturbing the worship rituals of the people in the church. 2. The story of Umar and the Jewish beggar. One of the stories that shows Umar's tolerance is when he meets an old Jew. One day, Umar bin Khattab was walking past a people. He then found an old beggar who seemed to have a visual impairment. Umar approached the old man and asked, "Master of the people of the book which cast?" The old man replied, "Jews." "Why are you doing this begging?" asked Umar. The old man replied, "I am begging so that I can pay jizya, fulfill my living needs, and my old age makes me unable to work." Umar bin Khattab then took the old man's hand. He led the old man to Umar's house and gave him provisions from his house. Then Umar took the old man to the Baitul Mal guard while saying, "Take care of this person and people like him. By Allah, we do not do justice because we have eaten the till his young. Then ignore him when he has reached old age." C. Implementation of Islamic moderation on classical and contemporary ulama. 1. Moderation of the classical scholars after the Islamic government moved to Damascus. The religion of Islam has many colors. This is because a lot of local wisdom is assimilated into the Islamic tradition. In addition, the city of Damascus is supported by a leader who has an open nature, namely Muawiyah ibn Abi Sufyan. Therefore, the wisdom of tolerance grew among the people. Even in the early days of Islamic rule in Damascus, many governments employees were filled by Christians without having to convert to Islam. This historical fact shows that the wisdom of tolerance and difference was present in the Umayyad and Abbasid government and became part of the implementation of Islamic moderation at the time. 2. Implementation of Wali Songo moderation since the arrival of Islam in Indonesia, as far as the process of its spread as a religion and cultural power is concrete. In fact, it has shown its prevalence. In this context, Islam is propagated in a peaceful manner, does not force other believers to convert to Islam, respect the current culture, and even accommodate it into the local culture without losing its identity. It turned out that this tolerant attitude attracted a lot of sympathy from the Indonesian people at that time to follow the teaching of Islam. The practice of religious moderation shown by the guardians is the practice of cultural acculturation, which is reflected in the architectural forms of the mosque that they found. The Demak Mosque, for example, which is one of the oldest mosques and was also founded by the guardians, adopts the Majapahit architectural style, which can be seen from the shape of the roof. Mirror or pundan terraces, which are used as roof models for a number of mosques, such as the Demak Mosque, the Sirban Siptarasa Mosque, and others, are evidence of acculturation carried out by the guardians. The first is Tawasud. Tawasud is defined by the word middle or moderate. It can be said that people who have a moderate attitude do not mean they have a soft, lenient attitude or do not have principle or stance, but on the contrary, people who have a firm stand. They stand tall in the midst of society, say that what is right and what is wrong, and always struggle to uphold justice and truth. The second is Tawazun. Balance or tawazun implies moderation and gestures. This middle attitude has a commitment to issues of justice, humanity, and equality, and does not mean not having an opinion. Balance is a form of view that does something moderately, not excessive and also not lacking, not extreme and not liberal. Balance is also a balanced attitude in serving for the creation of harmonious relation between fellow human beings and between humans and God. The third is Tasamu. Tasamu is usually defined by the word tolerance. In the language, of course, in Arabic, that Tasamu is the most commonly used today for the meaning of tolerance. Tasamu is rooted in the word samhan, which means easy, convenience or convenience. Tolerance can only be applied to the socialist realm. Efforts to build tolerance through theological aspects such as prayer and worship together, are ideas that have emerged since the era of ignorance and have since been recited by the Quran through the letter Al-Kafirun. Strictly speaking, Al-Kafirun's letter rejects sincerity. The fourth is deliberation or shura. Shura is a principle that emphasizes that all problems of power can be discussed. Regarding the method of deliberation, what needs to be established is a deliberative institution, and in it there must be a way of making decision, way of implementing the decision of deliberation, and other aspects of management, so as a principle of deliberation is a Sharia. Maqasid Sharia relationship with Islamic moderation is a very strong and mutually enforced relation. 1. Maqasid Sharia embodies moderation in Sharia, which teach how to understand text Sharia by seeking the intent, purpose, and wisdom of enacting a law in the Quran and Sunnah to the Mukallaf, will bring about moderation or wasatiyah in all Islamic teachings. This can be seen clearly in ijtihad and fatwas relates to matter of worship, muamalah, so on. 2. Maqasid Sharia embodies moderation in ijtihad and fatwa. If every mujtahid or mufti is able to understand well the maqasid Sharia, then the legal products and their ijtihad or fatwa result will realize justice, middle attitude, and proportionalism or moderates. Because maqasid Sharia is the ability to recognize, determine the goals and secret of Sharia makes in establishing love for human. Because Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala as the maker and stipulation of Sharia law, Ash'ari, for humans literally wants justice and confidence for his servants. Maqasid Sharia will prevent a Muslim from giving a fatwa without extensive knowledge and insight about a proposition, as is often the case today. Often a preacher or cleric has a controversial fatwa and disturbs the people because it forbids the lawful and justifies the unlawful due to not knowing the purpose of this Sharia. 3. Maqasid Sharia embodies moderation in worship. Worship is not seen from being excessive or reducing it from its professions as determined by Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, but how sincere and true worship is according to the Sharia, and sincere only for Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, who creates deeds and life, to that you which of you is better indeed, and He is mighty, most forgiving, because He understands the meaning of worship and humble oneself at-tazalli and submit oneself to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. And the purpose of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala to impose and obligate worship to His servant is so that they fear Him. 4. Maqasid Sharia embodies moderation in muamalah. Maqasid Sharia in muamalah is to allow all forms of muamalah as long as there is no evidence that forbids it or prohibits it. Fatwas or views in muamalah that pay attention to maqasid Sharia will realize moderation in muamalah, because the original law of muamalah, which is permissible, will provide breadth of flexibility and convenience in muamalah law. Such is the explanation of Islamic moderation. And here are some reference explanation of Islamic moderation, and here are some reference list of the material I have described. I hope with this explanation you can understand more deeply about Islamic moderation, normative foundation, historical foundation, and Islamic moderation, principles and their relevance to maqasid Sharia. Okay, thanks you for your attention. If there are many mistakes, I apologize profusely. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.